I'm absolutely fully aware, just like Marcel, that you're not here for me, so I'm not going to overstay my welcome. I just want to say that I see this room packed like this 3 times a year for the Applied Machine Learning Days, of course, for the welcoming ceremony to the new students at EPFL, that's a packed room, and when it's really packed to the last seat is the graduation ceremony, when we have 3,000 something people in the room. So Marcel, that's the next goal, is to pack 3,000 people at the Applied Machine Learning Days. I'm sure you'll get there next year. Okay. In any case, welcome to EPFL, École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne. And you have been on campus for a couple of days. This is the campus we have. It's a beautiful campus with a view on the lakes, the mountains, and so on. So we are in this funny building. There are lots of other cute buildings, the Rolex Center, if you have time to go there. And the rest, it's an institute of technology where people do research, teaching, innovation, and so on. And these are the missions of the school. So this is one of the 2 federal institutes of technology in Switzerland. The other one is our older sister, ETH, in Zurich. And we are the only federal institutes in Switzerland and very well aware of the critical role we play also in advanced science and technology like machine learning and applied machine learning. So our missions are education, research, innovation. I'll very briefly talk about this by just picking examples. So one is that EPFL is the leading provider of online teaching in Europe with more than 2 million registered users, more than 100,000 certificates, more than 100 classes online, something we have been very involved in also on topics like machine learning. And actually one of the big successes is Marcel Salate's extension school, which allows actually everybody who has some interest to acquire basic digital skills, basic data science skills, something we feel is very important in societies that is being transformed by technology. The second mission is research. I could talk for 2 hours, okay, about research, so I'm just going to say it's, EPFL is one of the top-ranked institutes in Europe. This is just one example with European Research Council grants where EPFL is very competitive. We're also a place where a lot of innovation happens, and innovation you can measure various ways. This one we picked venture cap. If you have startups, tech transfer, spin-offs, then venture cap is very important. And this region here, this is not just EPFL, that's the entire region around Lac Léman, the so-called Arc Lémanique, is very successful in raising venture cap, also in the field of ICT and machine learning and data sciences. Okay, so let's come to the topic of the evening, and with apologies to Garry Kasparov, the first picture is about Deep Blue. You all remember Deep Blue, and I think it's a testimony to the genius of Garry Kasparov that he actually was game to play against the machine. Okay, those of us who come from computer science knew, I think in the 90s, that someday some machine, due to Moore's law, would probably beat a human player. But the man who took up the challenge, and he worked very hard, was Garry Kasparov. And I'm very honored, actually, to be here tonight and having the chance to meet him. You know the rest of the story. Watson, about 15 years later, not quite, beat Jeopardy, which seemed to be a more fuzzy and qualitative game, but that was relatively easy for Watson. And finally, you know the story of AlphaGo 0, which beat Go not so long ago. I think what is amazing here is that, and there was just an issue of Science with a cover about this, is that essentially it's a generic machine learning machine that learns chess, Go, and other games, okay? And I think this is a challenge, an interesting challenge for human civilization. What does it really mean, machine intelligence versus human intelligence? And if you get the chance, I have a copy here of the Science issue, there is a beautiful editorial by Garry Kasparov. And his point, which I find very intriguing, is to say chess, the game of chess, is a model for machine learning, just like Drosophila is a model for the life sciences. And he also makes a nice comment about his playing style, saying, yeah, AlphaGo has also this sort of reckless and innovative, creative style, like Garry Kasparov. I'm sure he will comment about this in a minute. Okay, so what are the challenges for a country like Switzerland, a continent like Europe? It is access to data, okay? And so that's the best picture I found about this. Maybe because it's actually not in Switzerland, it's not the Swiss cow. So access to data is probably one of the big challenges for Europe in general, also compared to some of our competitors and the more lax approach to data regulation we know. The other one is that to develop intelligent systems, here's an example of a cute drone developed here on campus. So intelligent systems are, of course, much broader than just machine learning or data science. These are machines, autonomous vehicles, drones, and so on, that not only use data, but all sorts of control algorithms, and of course, sophisticated technology to realize new human endeavors. Okay? And there also data is very critical. And that's a topic that is very high on the agenda at EPFL. A lot of data comes actually in the form of images. Here we are talking about sciences. This is a campus where we do basic science, applied science, engineering, and so on. And a lot of people deal with huge amounts of data that come actually from basic sciences, imaging methods, MRI, tomography, and so on. And that's a topic that is very interesting because if we can use these data across campus with the algorithms and the machine learning, we potentially can solve very hard science questions. And you probably know, late last year, AlphaGo from DeepMind again was extremely successful in solving protein folding. So protein folding is fundamental to life science, to chemistry, biochemistry, and so on. It's a very hard problem. Many people have tried many different heuristics, and AlphaFold, as it is called, relatively easily, meaning in 18 months, when other people had been at it for 30 years, in 18 months beat the entire competition very handsomely. Okay, now ultimately, of course, we are not a bunch of geeks just developing algorithms. We are people working for the good of society. And every now and then we have to reflect, listen to Chopin, and think, okay, are we doing AI for good? Okay, and if you look at the covers of various magazines, you can see that these questions are actually very much in the public space today. And there is also, of course, a competition for the world dominance in AI. That's the cover of The Economist. And it's a tension, I would say, between the GAFAs and the BATs, where Europe, I think, has a very particular role to play because we have a different understanding, for example, of the notions of privacy. Let me finish by one thing that is very dear to our hearts at EPFL. It is something Marcel Salaté and his group of collaborators are very interested in, is to work with international organizations just down the road to do what they call AI for good. Now, of course, you're going to say, who would want to do AI for bad? But, you know, if you look at the various scandals that we can find out, maybe people don't do AI for bad, but do AI without thinking very much what the effects are, influence on elections, breach of privacy, and so on. And so here, the initiative of AI for Good, which is just in its opening phase, is the idea of really using the general environment here in the Lake Geneva region to use AI methods to help international organizations like the ICRC, the Red Cross, to do more effective job in their missions, and this is something that we find extremely exciting. Last but not least, this is 2019. It's the 50th anniversary of EPFL. This is a very young school. I think it's a very vibrant young school, and we have a bunch of events all across the year, and the list is here. I'm not going to read the laundry list, but we have events around teaching, in particular teaching in the digital age. We have events events around research on our various locations, and on the main campus we have a day on open science, and we have a number of events around industrial relationship and innovation. With this, I would like to thank you very much and wish you a very enjoyable evening with the rest of the speakers and Gary Kasparov in particular. Thank you very much.